Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday morning Mind the Moment session brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we might incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I am absolutely delighted to be sitting next to, in metaphorically and virtually, Jackie Johnson, certified professional coach, mindfulness instructor, and longtime meditator. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning, Suzanne, and good morning, everyone. Great to be sitting next to you as well.
Yeah, or depending on how our view, it's up and down here, but it works. So nice to see everyone. So this morning, we will start off with a question for the group. Jackie has something for us, and then she'll share some thoughts with us. And then after that, we'll have time for questions. So if you could go down to the bottom of your screen, as always, and click on the chat, and you have the opportunity to click the drop-down menu there that has a click down for everyone, so you can see people's comments coming in. So as we begin, Jackie, how would you like to start us off this morning?
Thank you, Suzanne. Well, I'd like to start with a quote that that really has been sort of lingering in my mind lately. And this is from the Indian sage Neem Karoli Baba. And the quote is, "Don't throw anyone out of your heart." And it's interesting to think about how we can do that with difficult people in our lives, with relatives, with politicians. What I think maybe we tend not to think as much about is how we can do that with ourselves. And I've been dealing over the last months with a foot issue. And in the last few weeks, particularly, it's been kind of curtailing my daily walks, which have been a real source of joy and sustenance during the pandemic. So been noticing how in the most subtle and kind of insidious way, there's this inner monologue that adds layers. It's sort of like a cocktail of aversion and fear that when my foot is hurting more, starts sounding something like, it's getting worse and it's just going to keep getting worse. And what if you can't walk? And so it's just really interesting to notice the layers that get added to discomfort and how we might relate differently if it was somebody, a loved one of ours, a child, a pet who was feeling some kind of discomfort. So my question this morning is, what in your experience, could be a thought, could be an emotion, a sensation, might be met with more kindness and spaciousness?
Yeah, so I will start us off. I think Jackie and I talked about this very briefly as we were preparing to come on together, but my feeling as she asked the questions even a little different. I tend to be a little risk averse just in my life in general. And I think more in my financial life and those kinds of things than anything else. And I think that somehow I should change that. But it's probably kept me safe in a number of different circumstances. So sometimes things where we figure they might be maybe a negative part of us or a negative characteristic is something that keeps us safe. So just that came up for me. So how about you, Jackie?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think something that you're keying in on there, Suzanne, is noticing when the word should comes up for ourselves, right? There's an expression, sometimes people say, stop shoulding on yourself. So just sort of noticing that and noticing that that those kinds of words that we speak in our own minds can really lead to contraction, to tightening up when we're rejecting versus sort of loving ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And it's like related to pain in many ways, that the more we resist it, the more we might feel it.
Yeah,
More
yeah,
intense.
I see. Kristen says, I too have been dealing with similar issue, back pain. Yeah. So, and it really is all about, as she points to, the relationship, dropping the blame, noticing when pain isn't there. Yeah, that's a great one. And Tammy chimed in about a shoulder issue. Yeah, aging process, not liking the feeling, and bringing a curiosity and a sense of welcome and it belongs. Yeah. Yeah, opinionated about family members. Yeah, so, fundamentally, we always have, to my way of thinking, a couple of choices when there's discomfort to change the situation. So in other words, if we're sitting in a way that your foot falls asleep or there's some kind of discomfort in the body, you can adjust or make a change to that. And that's perfectly fine. And when we can't change the situation, then the opportunity is really to change our relationship to the situation.
Mm,
So with that, how about if we go into a little practice and then we can chat more?
sounds good.
Great. So speaking of the body, why don't we start with kind of a check-in and see what's here in the moment? And if you've already been sitting for a while today, feel free to stretch, to move in any way that feels right, and to settle into whatever posture feels best for you right now. So that might be sitting. If it feels better to stand, that's perfectly fine. And I'll give some brief guidance at the beginning, and I'll be offering some reminders throughout the practice. And if you have your own way of practicing and it's better for you, feel free to let my voice be in the background at any point. So just settling in and inviting in a sense of stability and ease. If it feels right, allowing the eyes to close gently or casting the gaze downward to minimize distraction, just with a soft gaze. Taking a couple of deeper than normal breaths. And if you're feeling sleepy, knowing that you can lengthen the inhalation to bring some wakefulness. And if you're feeling any stress or agitation, lengthening and putting the focus on the exhalation just to help with that sense of settling. Feeling the support of the ground beneath you. Just inviting in softening. And shifting the awareness to sounds. Noticing how sounds arise and then dissipate. Sounds come and go without any effort from us. Might notice sounds outside, sounds in the room, the sound of my voice. And now allowing sounds to drop into the background and bringing the awareness to the body sitting and breathing. Let's do a brief scan of the body, starting at the top of the head, down through the face, the forehead, around the temples, the sides of the head, into the cheeks and the jaw. Noticing any areas of tension or tightness, and just seeing if you can allow them to soften without effort. Noticing all of the head being supported by the neck, by the body. Moving the attention down through the neck into the shoulder area. And if you notice any areas of discomfort, maybe seeing if you can meet them with a sense of acceptance. It's like this right now. And bringing the awareness down through the arms, the upper arms, the elbows, into the hands. Feeling the hands in contact with the lap, with each other, wherever they are settled in this moment. Noticing if there is any tingling, vibration, awareness of temperature. And then sweeping the awareness down through the upper part of the body. Through the chest, through the ribs. Aware of the internal organs, down into the belly, the abdomen, the hips. Feeling your butt in contact with the seat, all the weight supported by the earth. Feeling the whole of the top half of the body, whatever's here. It's like this. Moving the attention down through the hips into the legs, the upper legs and the thighs, the knees, perhaps noticing the knees bent if you're seated, the lower part of the legs, the feet, feeling the feet in contact with the earth. Now really feeling into the whole of the body, sitting and breathing in the way that it knows how to do, and just noticing the natural rhythm, the rising and falling like waves of the breath. And now finding whatever anchor is best for you right now to bring a sense of collectedness. So that might mean staying with the breath at a particular point, or the whole of the body sitting and breathing. Or if it's easier, going back to sound or sensations of the hands and feet. The anchor's really here just to support us with that sense of collectedness, a kind of gentleness of attention versus any need to try and rigidly hold ourselves here. So finding whatever works for you. And if at any point you notice that you're controlling the breath, you might shift to another anchor for a while, and then you can always try coming back. Just seeing if you can rest and receive and make space for whatever arises. And as it's helpful, you might drop in some simple words. It's like this, or just this. Gently coming back to your anchor. Noticing how's the heart. Sometimes it's helpful to call to mind somebody for whom it's easy to feel love and warmth, and to wish them well, either just by holding an image and feeling that in our hearts, or using some words like, may you be safe and well. May you be peaceful. May you live with ease, with joy, and with kindness. In the last moment or so of our practice, you might consider what it might be like to live free from aversion with an awareness of the basic goodness of heart. And as we bring the practice to a close, just bringing a little bit of movement back into the body, just to begin to bring yourself back slowly. If the eyes have been closed, taking your time and allowing them to open. May the merit of our practice be of benefit to all. Thank you all for your practice.
Thank you, Jackie. The words that you used, rest and receive, really spoke to the theme here. I really like that, because someone had mentioned in the chat how I can't remember specifically what was said, but it was something related to reactivity, and how impulsivity. It was Teresa trying to work on my impulsivity. Because if we, in any circumstance, if we can just sit back and try to look at another person's perspective, that can keep us from being too impulsive. So,
yeah. Wow, there is so much here in the chat. I wish we could all be in a conversation for the next couple of hours. Yeah, being kind to myself when I'm not able to do certain things I'd planned to do for myself or family. I see the word control in a couple of places here.
Yeah, the practice was very helpful. The body scan especially. I think personally helped me to release a little bit of that control that someone has mentioned here. I was told the other day about how, of course, our necks are very much the control center of our bodies. If we're feeling neck stress, that might mean that we're trying to make things a certain way.
Yeah. And I wonder if anybody has any other thoughts of what supports you in meeting these experiences, challenging experiences, in a more kind and loving and accepting way. It's like this, yeah.
I like that very much.
Yeah. So what else do you find supportive? And then it's sort of like the plan A, because I have been saying for the last couple of years that walking is really supportive for me. So then, okay, can't walk today because my foot's hurting too much. So it's almost like we need this sort of menu of resources to support the heart and to support our well-being, tapping into how unpleasant resistance is. Yes, thank you, Tara. Yeah. When we meet these experiences with resistance, and particularly when it's coming in that subtle and insidious way, there's just this tightening and contracting that makes it all worse.
Yeah, Marabella has mentioned that changing, I agree with that as well. Changing the anchor if you're feeling like you're trying to control the breath is just a brilliant recommendation. So that was very, very helpful. And I keep going back to the that our bodies are protecting us. I even think about in relation to your foot. Is your body telling you to focus on other parts of your body? Maybe you need to do arm work, or something, like, I don't know. Could that be something that our body's telling us?
Yeah. Yeah, just really tapping into the wisdom of the body, because we spend so much of the day, so much of our lives up here, and miss what's going on. So it's interesting to think of it more as a signal, and what's the body trying to tell me. I love the pointer to that, Suzanne.
Yeah. I like what Marabella has mentioned too, that sometimes we don't even notice what we're doing, that we don't notice that we're trying to control the breath.
Yeah. There's a book, I just wanted to just sort of point to something else. This is from a book called How to Wake Up by Toni Bernhardt. And she talks about in 1990 that Sharon Salzberg attended. Sharon Salzberg is a teacher that many of you know of. She attended a conference with the Dalai Lama held for Westerners. And when it was her time to ask a question, she asked, "What do you think about self-hatred?" And the Dalai Lama was utterly confused by her question, because he wasn't familiar with the idea of people disliking themselves. It simply wasn't a part of his culture. And so interesting to think that that is just such a part of Western culture, and how can we be more tender to ourselves with our own experiences, the way that we would be to a loved one, the way that we might be to a child or to a pet, and to be kind when there's suffering.
Yeah, such a good reminder. And Teresa mentioned in the chat as well that you mentioned menu of resources. So, I really appreciate this one entree in our menu of resources, which is the practice that you've offered us here, Jackie, and the community that we have built here too. So very grateful for your teaching and your practice, and just your willingness to share with us about your personal experience, because as we discussed earlier, that can be so freeing for all of us. So really grateful for that. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Great to be with you all, as always.
Yeah, and thank you for all the connection and comments. We learn so much from one another. So very, very grateful for that as well. So just a reminder to folks that tomorrow there's also a session that I lead, and it will be building on a lot of what Jackie has mentioned today. So I'm going to throw the little link in the chat here so that folks, you can click on it and have it for tomorrow and add it to your little menu of resources. So thank you again, Jackie, and thank you for everyone for joining.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Have a great day.
Yes, thank you.